proudly carries the Purple Heart.
Well, quite often the revolutionaries are those from the upper classes who realize how corrupt it is. I mean, Castro's father was a very famous, very famous doctor. But anyway, if it had not been for Oliver Stone making JFK, I could have never, ever, ever done the 2 documentaries that I did that catalog Jim Garrison's amazing life and his amazing case. I would hope that with your success, it again pops up in your mind that you might consider running for the presidency again. And if you did, how would your son and your wife feel about it?
Well, don't bring my wife in on it, because she's going to be a big negative. But, I always answer, and I don't try to be evasive, but I can't predict the future. And I don't know when that Y in the road that Yogi talks about will come up again, but you can bet when it does, I'll take it at least a few more times. So if it's in the cards, it'll happen. If it's not, it won't. And that's kind of how I view life. I'm 66 right now. It's also, for me, do I really want to do that for 4 years that ages you about 10?
I can well understand that, but you would be
out. I'm the weight I was in the United States Navy now. and
great.
I feel good. And do I really want? I've already given 14 years, 6 in the Navy, 4 as a mayor, and 4 as a governor. That's 14 years of public service.
When does your next World According to Jesse air?
Friday.
Okay, where can folks find it?
7:30 Eastern, 6:30 Central.
Okay, and they find it on RT?
RT. If you get direct TV from the satellite, it's channel 321.
Well, I cannot tell you how thrilled I am that you took out the time to talk to me and also to express an interest in the American media and the second assassination of President John F. Kennedy. I mean,
it's my pleasure. Let me make a statement. It's my pleasure that people like you are still out there fighting the good fight, because it's the one place where you start getting depressed in my position, where you think nobody's listening, nobody cares. But I always get rejuvenated, like when I go to New York City, when people on the street come up to me and say, Jesse, keep doing what you're doing.
Absolutely. You must remember something, and you're probably well aware of it, Governor, that no crowd ever changed anything or improved anything in history, in art or politics or science or religion. It was always the black sheep. Jesus only had 12 disciples. Castro only had 10 guys in a rowboat. And in the American Revolution, less than 3% actually wanted to fight the British and create this wonderful country that grows people like Jesse Ventura. I want to thank you again very, very much. Also, thank your wife, because I think she's your biggest fan. And I look forward to talking to you perhaps in February next year.
Absolutely. I'll tell my people we're going to get you. You're going to go on my show now.
Well, Governor, thank you so much. I truly, truly look forward to it. You have a wonderful holiday, a great new year. And as Ed Miller used to say, good night, good luck, because we're going to re-air this Christmas Day as a Christmas present to America from Governor Jesse Ventura. Governor, thank you so much. Bless you.
Thank you, and happy holidays to everyone out there, and I look forward to it. Thanks. We'll talk again. Bye-bye.
Okay, thanks. Bye-bye. We will be right back with the incomparable Joe Satilli.
Great music from all the greatest performers from sunup to sundown.
How do you keep the music playing? At last, well, beyond the sea.
Then, great talk all night. The mysteries of UFOs, conspiracy theories, and the true story of Las Vegas that has never been told.
There are 3 ways to listen to KIYQ. Go to the TuneIn app, just search for KIYQ, or go to www.kiyq.org. Listen from any telephone, call 605-477-2857. That's 605-477-2857. Long distance charges may apply.
KIYQ 107.1.
Hi, I'm Richard Valzer. This is the great BBS Radio.
Hi, this is John Barbour. Welcome back to the very special edition of John Barbour's World here in Las Vegas. We just finished a wonderful, wonderful interview with Governor Jesse Ventura, and you finally got to hear the question that I wanted to ask him for 18 years about why the Central Intelligence Agency, 21 of these guys would want to talk to the newly elected independent governor of Minnesota. And now we're back with my dear, dear friend, without whom I could not do the show and without whom I could not be well informed. He is a creator and author of the best newsletter, daily newsletter in America called News Vandal. And again, I must tell you, we're going to re-air this again on Christmas as a Christmas present to you all. Anyway, my cohort, Joe Satilli. Joe, welcome to comments about the tax thing that I sort of mentioned Mitch McConnell being involved in at the top of the show. You want to expand on that a bit?
Well, sure, because, ironically, it's been sold by President Trump as a big Christmas gift to Americans, right? This tax bill. And it's a Frankenstein bill at this point. Now, so we're talking, on November 30th, just today, it's heading towards the floor. There are debates happening. It looks like the Senate is starting to line up Republicans. John McCain said he's going to vote for it. Ironically, there are a bunch of provisions in it that most of the Republican senators haven't seen yet that are secret. And, there are a number of different questions about this bill. Look, this is a typical hoard money at the top kind of tax bill. It's being sold as a jobs creator, but every single analysis that I have seen over the last 20 years has shown that there is absolutely no correlation between tax cuts to the upper brackets or to corporations and job growth. As a matter of fact, this is because this is the selling point. We're going to have, if we have this tax cut to corporations, we drop the rate down to 20%. Now, the effective rate is actually 18%, even though the legal rate is like 35. Because of all the loopholes, most corporations don't pay 35%. As a matter of fact, there was a year where I paid $2,000 in taxes on less than $20,000 in income because it's tough to be a journalist.
Oh my gosh, that's horrifying.
Well, because of self-employment tax, and that same year, Boeing actually got a tax rebate. Not only they didn't pay taxes, they got money back from the government. So that's, the tax system is arcane and Byzantine, and it's been sold as we're going to simplify the tax code and reform it. It's tax reform, John. It's reforming. No, it's a giant tax cut. And as a matter of fact, Cisco Systems, Pfizer, Coca-Cola, Amgen, a bunch of corporate heads have just said in the last few days that the money that they get, the windfall that they get, is not going to go towards capital investments in growing business. It's not going to go towards paying people more in their paychecks, which is what Paul Ryan keeps saying. Oh, if we give a tax cut to corporations, they're going to put that money in your paycheck. No. They said they're going to do what? They're going to give it out in dividends to shareholders. And then the other thing they're going to do is they're going to go back into the market and use it for buybacks. And stock buybacks is one of the reasons why the stock market is so high, because CEOs and corporate leaders, they have incentives generally built into their contracts that if the stock price goes up, they get paid more. And in addition, their compensation packages generally include stock options. So that's a double whammy. If they can make the stock price go up, they get paid more, and then they often get paid in stocks, and so they get paid more in stocks as well. So
is this the reason the stock market seems to be rising? It just seems to be a freak of nature, an anomaly to me, because we don't make anything in this country.
Nope.
So why on earth are these prices going up on the stock exchange?
Because we have a highly financialized economy, which means it's not about making widgets and selling the best widget. And then people go, wow, you sell the best widget. I want to invest in a company that sells the best widget. And boy, you pay your people enough to where they can go buy the widgets from other companies. And all of a sudden you have an actual functional economy. Like this was the economy of the 50s. This is the economy that built the middle class, right? Of the Eisenhower years and leading into the Kennedy years. No, now what you have is a financialized economy where one of the things we make is debt, and we repackage debt into things called exotic financial instruments, and then we sell debt as a commodity. And because the financialized economy is really about moving numbers around on computer screens and speculating, one of the things that tax cuts do, particularly and have done since the original big tax cut, the original trickle-down tax cut of the Reagan tax cut, is it emboldens people at the top who are suddenly given a windfall of extra capital to continue to speculate. And one of the things that people tend to forget is that the great economic miracle of Ronald Reagan's tax cut, we all talk about, wow, it's morning in America. Remember that, John? It's morning in America.
Yes.
Well, it was then morning with a U in America on Black Monday in 1987 because the Reagan tax cut really only created about 3 to 4 years of actual functional growth. It was all based on speculation, and people forget about things like junk bonds and corporate raiders. And that turned into the big crash of 87, which then, in concert with the savings and loan scandal, which was about deregulating savings and loans, which drove up a bunch of speculation, that double whammy created a persistent recession, one of the worst recessions of the second half of the 20th century, that ended up costing George Herbert Walker Bush his job because it was the economy stupid when Clinton ran against him. So that's what these things do. They create bubbles burst, and then in the process of the bubble bursting, the people at the bottom get soaked, but the people at the top who made money on the rise up, they either see the bubble bursting in the offing, so they then bet against their own investments, so they make money on shorting the market. Then when the market crashes, they cash in on that. And then if they are exposed to any kind of problems, they have the power to go to the government and have the government come and bail them out. Meanwhile,
the last bubble burst was 9 years ago, 2008,
Yep.
And there were a handful of very smart people who predicted the bubble burst,
Yep.
and they benefited by it, and they got out of the market. Do you see that happening? It seems to me it has to be inevitable because it seems so artificial.
It does feel that way. I mean, everything that I read and everything I look at says it's a matter of time. And when I look at this is, the boom and bust cycle. I wrote a 20,000 word 3-part series on this for Truth Out a couple of years ago. When you look at the boom and bust cycle, it is as predictable as the sun rising. The difference with this one is that, in particular, this market has been running wild in no small part because they anticipate this coming tax cut. So a lot of this is speculation. You're speculating by investing in companies because you want to have a huge investment when the tax cut comes so that you can cash out and take profits. So I have this weird feeling that one of the things that could lead to a little bit of a run is profit taking, because once you've made all these investments, and if the big tax cut comes, why would you not want to taste a little bit of what you've been speculating on? That's not probably going to do it. I think that there are other fundamentals in place, like the price to earnings ratio, which continue to be completely grotesque. That's the price of a stock versus its earnings. The larger that it gets, the less rooted in reality the stock price is. So we're at very high price to earning ratios. So it seems to me that the bubble is going to burst at some point. It's a matter of what triggers it. And then when the run comes, because look, we have a subprime auto lending bubble because we have subprime lending, just like the subprime lending that led to the housing bubble. It's not as big, but it's like 1.3 trillion dollars. I guess it's around $1 trillion. We have the student loan bubble. That's 1.4 trillion. That the defaults on that are rising.